If you've watched documentaries about D-Day, you've probably noticed that some of the same footage of the invasion appears time and again. This scene of Canadian troops landing on Juno Beach is among the best known. Their landing craft is an LCA, a landing craft assault, the British equivalent of the American Higgins boat. It's just after 8 in the morning, and they're about to touch down on the beach. About 30 soldiers are packed in the small boat, members of the North Shore Regiment. They'll be among the first troops to land here. The armored doors open. They move out towards the enemy, single file. The man glancing backward has been identified as Private George Baker, a 20-year-old from Nova Scotia. A reassuring hand from a comrade. An intense glance. This footage was made with a special movie camera attached to the landing craft's side. There were other cameras like it mounted on other vessels. They were all designed and installed by a film unit led by the legendary Hollywood director John Ford. This is the story of these cameras and the film they shot on D-Day. Keep watching to see footage of the landings on Omaha Beach that has only recently been discovered. American military photographers and motion picture cameramen would be on hand to document the historic invasion of Normandy. U.S. Army Signal Corps teams were assigned to land with the assault troops. Some of them were equipped to shoot still photographs. Others carried motion picture cameras. Army Air Force combat cameramen would be up in the air, while Navy and Coast Guard cameramen would cover the activities of the sea services. It was a huge job. To help them out, the Supreme Allied Headquarters turned to Commander Ford. Before the war, Ford and his men had been naval reservists, recruited from the movie industry in the Los Angeles area. After they were called up, they were attached to the American intelligence organization called the Office of Strategic Services, or OSS. On paper, they were designated the OSS Field Photographic Unit. Unofficially, they were referred to as John Ford's Navy. Its detachment covering the European theater was based in London. There would be thousands of ships and landing craft in the invasion force headed to 5 different Normandy beaches. Covering the first waves going ashore on June 6th was just one part of the photo job, and planners knew the limited number of trained cameramen could not be everywhere. Someone came up with the idea of attaching motion picture cameras to landing craft that would start filming automatically when their ramps dropped. One source says it was Ford himself who came up with the idea, but the real boss of the operation was one of his officers, a 28-year-old Naval Reserve lieutenant named Mark Armistead. Lieutenant Armistead was Field Photo Supply Officer in London. He'd learned all about motion picture cameras before the war, working for Faxon Dean, a silent-era cinematographer who rented equipment to the Hollywood studios. Records from the London OSS office, located by archives researcher Steve Green, show the project began in early May of 1944. Lieutenant Armistead obtained 144 American-made spring-wound bomb spotter IMO film cameras from the Royal Air Force. The military used all kinds of IMOs. The bomb spotter types were normally fitted to aircraft to automatically start running when their bombs were dropped. Armistead wanted the camera's spring mechanisms replaced with electric motors powered by batteries. As part of the agreement with the British, 44 of the IMOs with slightly different modifications would be given back after the conversion. This is an RAF cameraman with a modified handheld bomb spotter. The batteries are carried in a backpack. Lieutenant Armistead hired local contractors to provide the electric motors and to cast redesigned metal housings for them. The final assemblies were done at an American Ordnance Depot. It turned out the automatic operation was not practical, so switches connected to the cameras by cables were used instead. A designated sailor would flip the switch when the vessel reached the Normandy shore. Armistead's team began welding steel mounting plates onto landing craft. This one is high on the conning tower of an LCI, a landing craft infantry. It is aimed downward towards one of the vessel's ramps. A view from the tower. Notice the arch-shaped depression rail behind the forward 20mm gun mount. D-Day historian Charles Herrick noticed that the design of these rails varied, which helps to identify different LCIs in photos and film. Here's a camera mount on the pilot house of a smaller vessel called an LCM. These are field photo sailors working on the batteries. Time ran short as the invasion approached, and only a portion of the camera conversions were ready. By the start of June, Field Photo had installed 35 camera mounts on 28 vessels. 6 were Canadian LCIs berthed at Southampton. 6 LCAs from the British Transport Brigadier received bomb spotters, as did 4 British LCTs. 6 U.S. Coast Guard LCIs and 1 from the Navy assigned to the Omaha Beach landings were equipped with IMOs, along with a Navy LST and 4 LCMs that were headed to Utah Beach. This is LCI 94 on its way to Normandy. Its bomb spotter was on the conning tower, protected from the elements by a canvas cover. This is LCM 104 after the first landings. There's no camera attached in this footage, but you can see the welded-on mount. Each bomb spotter was loaded with a single 100-foot roll of black and white film that would record about a minute of action. When activated, the camera would run until the entire film roll was exposed. Armistead added a shot of an identifying slate at the start of each roll before the cameras were installed. These are the slates from 3 LCAs from the Brigadier. Then came D-Day. Chief Moran and 3 other field photo men had remained at ports in England. While he waited for the vessels with cameras to come back, Moran shot footage of casualties arriving at Weymouth. He usually ID'd his rolls with chalk on a tarp, but for some reason, one of his film rolls shows a double-exposed Armistead slate. In a June 13th report, Moran tallied the results of the Special Installations project. Several camera-equipped craft had yet to show up. Some had been lost during the operation. Others were still at work in the channel, shuttling reinforcements and supplies to the beach. Among the vessels Moran located, a few had not had their cameras turned on, or they had malfunctioned, or they'd been lost. Chief Moran reported retrieving 3 rolls of exposed film from Canadian LCIs and 1 roll from the American LCI 88. There had been 2 cameras on LCI 493. One hadn't worked at all. The other exposed only 30 feet of film. Moran incorrectly reported all 6 of the LCAs from the Brigadier had been lost. But 3 actually survived, and their film rolls somehow made it back to London. Here are the other 2 rolls from the Brigadier. The cameras were mounted in the same position as the IMO on Private Baker's LCA. These Canadians are just as brave. This footage was also taken at Juno Beach. This is roll 26. The London Field Photo Brass touted the film shot by the modified IMOs to be among the best footage taken on D-Day. Of the 35 OSS cameras that were installed, it appears only 9 or so rolls of exposed film were retrieved, and these scenes from Juno Beach are the only reels from the fixed bomb spotter IMOs that have been seen. Until now. The new footage was found hiding in plain sight on the U.S. National Archives website. Here's the film from LCI 493. There's not much of it. A few feet taken in the morning at Omaha Beach. The man on the ramp appears to be wearing a trench coat. Next is a very brief scene shot in brighter light. It's as if the camera got stuck during the landing, then somehow began running again, exposing a few more feet of film. These appear to be men from the 2nd Infantry Division, which landed on June 7th. There was a Coast Guard photographer's mate aboard LCI 94 named David Ruley. He shot a lot of footage on June 6th with a handheld camera. Color footage. Ruley may also have switched on the 94's fixed IMO. This is its film. Heavily equipped soldiers from the 1st Infantry Division make their way down the ramp into neck-deep water. There's German log obstacles up ahead. Sailors are working to lower the other ramp on the starboard side. Some men seem to be swimming. The 94 was hit by German fire as it retracted from the beach. Several of its crew were wounded, and 3 didn't make it. Here are stills from Ruley's color footage beside a frame from the fixed camera. You can see the same boxes stacked on the deck. Another Coast Guard cameraman, Gilbert DeStefano, was aboard LCI 88 as it headed into Omaha Beach. He shot film with a standard handheld camera. This is some of his footage showing the port ramp. He turned to the left, filming soldiers wading through the surf. Splashes made by German bullets are seen. The vessel also had a bomb spotter. It was aimed towards the craft's starboard ramp. Here's both film reels from the 88 side by side. The fixed camera runs just a little slower than DeStefano's handheld. Figures, maybe demolitions men, are running laterally across the beach near some of the distant obstacles. A log stake explodes. The film stutters a bit. At the top right, a Sherman tank with a dozer blade comes into view, and the footage ends. Armistead's project produced 6 known rolls of surviving film. The Juno Beach footage is the best quality, which is probably why it was shown early on. The few feet from LCI 493 is poor. The LCI 94 film is a bit washed out, and the roll from LCI 88 is clear, but it shakes. DeStefano's handheld footage was taken from a similar vantage point at nearly the same time on the 88, and it is technically better, which might be why it was used early on. Are there more Armistead rolls out there left to be found? It's possible. Chief Moran hadn't reported finding the film from the Brigadier's LCAs, but it exists. And he didn't mention the LCI 94 film at all, but you've just seen it. So maybe, just maybe, there are a few more rolls still out there somewhere.